Hey, Composing Gloves here, and today we're doing a MIDI music theory and music theory from the ground up. I'm going to be working in MIDI for the next several videos because it's just more convenient, and doing 2 videos for each concept is way more work than is necessary, and you definitely don't need to see like sheet music examples to understand the concept. That's just kind of like an added bonus. So here we go. So we're going to be talking about melodic content in the next several videos. Now, I have a thing here of a chord progression, and what it is I have a C major. Now I've got 2 pianos going right now, and I have a C major. Oh, I forgot to mention I am wearing a hat. I have a C major chord, so that's my one chord, and then I have a D major. This is a secondary dominant chord to the G major. Decided to just do that, and it sounds like this. I decided to give it a little rhythm. Now let's say we want to compose a melody. Well, the first thing you do when composing a melody, pretend this like doesn't exist yet. We could just do something like that. And so here I am playing with chord tones. I've actually got a second melodic thing. Maybe I should keep my melodic ideas the same. So let's just do something like this. So I'm playing in the chord tones, right? So D, which is, we'll put this as C, because we're in C major, so we're going to pick a chord tone. And then you remember all the basic melodic rules from the previous video, not the one earlier in this series. There's one on basic melodic writing, and so we're going to follow some of those. We're going to follow those rules. So I've got C, and then I'm going to jump up to D because that's in the key, or that's in the chord. There's a chord tones, that's nice, and A's in there. And then we'll come back to this D. Now right here with this is something kind of special, but I'm going to put it somewhere else to make it a little more obvious. And then we move into G. So this guy is a passing tone, but we're going to ignore that for now. And then G. So another chord tone. So as you can see, people have gone about like breaking stuff up so that you can very specifically know what you're doing. It's very convenient towards writing melodies. Now, we're just gonna, some of this stuff you're just gonna do intuitively. Like I encourage you to, instead of being like, oh, chord tone, la 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 la, that's a really great way to do it. But I think you should be able to do it both ways. I encourage you to go sing a melody and then write that melody down. Like make it so that it plays the exact way you sang it. And then the other ways, write out some chord tones and do this. That way you can sort of start mixing techniques. There's no substitution for either one of these. You have to know how to do them both if you want to be like really proficient. And it just increases your capabilities as a creative artist. So you want that. So, okay, now if we play it. Oh, I got to turn on that second channel. Okay, here we go. And if we play it. See, it sounds kind of, it fits in there. It's nice. The rhythm's kind of nice. I'll turn this down. See, that's a great thing, guys. So that's really cool. Now, let's say like, oh, we played this. Now I want to vary it. I want to make something called the neighboring tone. So a lot of people cover all these tones. They're also called embellishment tones. In one video, I'm against that. It's just too much information in one video to consume, because like you're going to have to watch that video over and over and over to get all the info. So we have here this D. Let's say I want to make this D more interesting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this D on the beat, and I'm going to put something on the off beat. This is typically how neighboring tones go. They typically land on a weak beat. That way the previous tone, the idea of a neighboring tone is to give emphasis to a tone in a way that it wouldn't have received emphasis before. Sometimes they're just tossed in there. It's just whatever, but that's a typical application. And usually this one receives more emphasis than the neighboring tone. So the neighboring tone is a tone that's on either side of it, and it simply plays, and then your tone comes back. So this tone is played twice, the tone you want to emphasize, and it's on the strong beat. So you're getting the emphasis. Dun, dun, dun. You probably sing this all the time without even realizing it. There's like literally everywhere in melodies. And this tone, you might be saying, what are the rules about this tone? Well, you may consider your chord, things like that. The big deal is it could be any note, really. It could be chromatic, it could be not chromatic. Generally you want to stay in the key. So if we want to keep it diatonic, we can move it up to like an F sharp. I can tell you right now that will sound nice. You can do all sorts of numbers of things. It just depends on your particular situation. Now that's pretty much it. That's the neighboring tone. So as you see, as we play it, it will give emphasis to this note, and this note typically receives a little less emphasis. However, you can do the other way around and give this one more emphasis. So it's just, you I expect you to be creative. Shocker. So anyways, that is the neighboring tone. Now, sometimes you'll see cascades of neighboring tones. Sometimes that is actually an arpeggio. It's like series of them. It could be considered more of an arpeggio movement or scalier movement. But you'll see these everywhere. You'll see them string together. You'll see them appear as individuals. That's why when I said this right here is kind of a special deal. Now, something I've always kind of wondered, and I've never gotten a straight answer on it. So maybe one of you guys can answer this question for me. When I play two tones, I understand diatonic and chromatic. But if I have a tone like way up here, I've not found anything in theory that says that this is a separate tone, like something else. Now, this is the same note, so that's maybe not the best example. Let's say I do something like that. Okay, so this is two notes, and then there's a neighboring tone, and I just don't know if it applies to a specific interval difference. I guess that's my question. Right now, my conclusion is it does not, but I don't know. So I don't know. I don't know how that works. But this is obviously that breaks the rules of some of our melodic writing, especially for singable melodies, like the basic rules. That would break some of those rules. So that'd be kind of a weird circumstance. So I understand that wouldn't appear very often, but I've wondered, and I haven't found anything that says like, oh, that's something else. Maybe I just haven't learned about it yet or whatever. I don't know. But drop it in the comments if you know. Be very helpful. And that is the neighboring tone. That's really it. So you pick your key, your chords, and you can do cool things like that to make it more interesting. Now, when you're writing melodies, see, some of you guys are probably gonna have questions about how these things would line up in chords. And you see, I've simply just made it the top voice. That's pretty much what you're gonna do for now. I'm not gonna talk about like inner chordal voicing and all this like inner melody. Fugue is like there's our entire forms based off this, because when you're writing in EDM and stuff, typically you're going to be doing stuff like this. However, in other genres, it does change. You could do some very interesting things with voices, and it depends on your colors. So if you have like cellos, which are low just by default, or bass, which is bass by default, you will be presented with some interesting options when you want to give them melodic content. So it's just an interesting deal. It's also something that a lot of kids who like choose to play tuba in high school realize that all they're going to be playing is mostly quarter notes and whole notes, half notes, maybe a couple eighth notes like dun 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 dun, but they realize they've kind of set their lot in life. They don't get the most complicated parts in the world or the most fun parts. Sometimes they get really fun parts, but just not very common because of the role they play. If you have any questions, let me know. Subscribe and have a blessed day.